Good morning. Welcome to today's case presentation. Presenting a 35-year-old male patient hailing from Thrissur. He is a logistic manager in Madagascar by profession, presenting with right hip pain since 6 months and left hip pain since 2 weeks. Apparently normal patient presented with a dull aching pain over the right hip, mainly over the anterior hip and the groin region 6 months back after lifting a heavy weight. The pain was gradually progressive in nature, and the pain aggravated on climbing stairs and doing exertional activities, and also on riding the bike, and was only temporarily relieved on taking analgesics and on lying down. There was no radiation of pain. He also had difficulty in sitting cross-legged, squatting, and also squatting. 2 weeks back, he experienced a similar kind of pain over the left hip after climbing stairs. There was no history of any fever. There is no history of any loss of weight, loss of appetite. There is no history of any morning stiffness. There was no history of any trauma, and there was no history of any night pain. He consulted an orthopedician and was investigated and is now admitted in our hospital for further management for his ailment. Coming to the past history and personal history of the patient, he has been a chronic smoker and a chronic alcoholic with one pack a day for the last 6 years, which has been reduced for the last 6 months since the history of ailment to 3 cigarettes a day. And he's a chronic alcoholic with 3 packs a day every day for the last 6 years, which has also been reduced to an occasional drinker for the last 6 months. There was no history of any bronchial asthma, there is no history of any skin lesions, and there is no history of any steroid intake. Coming to general examination, the patient is morbidly obese with a height of 178 centimeter and weight of 126 kg, BMI of 39.8. Then there is no pallor, icterus, cyanosis, clubbing,
How,
lymphadenopathy, or
how many kgs? How many kgs?
126, sir. 126.
Okay. Okay,
There is
continue.
nothing things contributory in the examination. Coming to examination of the hip joint, attitude, patient is lying comfortably on the couch with hip and knee extended. The right lower limb, the foot is in neutral rotation, the ankle is in gravity assisted plantar flexion, and the patella is facing upwards. And the left hip, the foot is in external rotation, the ankle is in gravity assisted plantar flexion, and the patella is facing outwards. Coming to inspection from the front, the ASIS appears at the same level. There is no fullness of the Scarpa's triangle. There is no wasting of the quadriceps muscles. There are no appreciable limb length discrepancies. From the side, there is no exaggerated lumbar lordosis. Both the trochanter appears to be at the same level. And from the back, the posterior superior iliac spine appears at the same level. There is no asymmetry of the gluteal fold. There is no wasting of the gluteal muscles. There are no scars, sinuses, swellings all around the hip. Coming to palpation, there is no local rise of temperature. On the right hip, there is anterior joint line tenderness, and on the left hip, there is anterior and posterior joint line tenderness, and there is thrust tenderness of the greater trochanter. The femoral pulse was felt equally bilaterally. The vascular sign of Narath was negative. The ASIOS was confirmed to be at the same level, and the trochanter was at the same level. There was no exaggeration of lumbar lordosis. There is no thickening, broadening, or irregularity of the greater trochanter. There was no SI joint tenderness, and there was no palpable swellings. Coming to deformity assessment and movement, there is no fixed flexion deformity, and in the right hip, the range of flexion was from 0 to 90 degree, and the further flexion was restricted by pain and spasm. And in the left hip, the range of flexion was from 0 to 60 degree, and the further flexion was restricted by pain and spasm. There was no fixed adduction or abduction deformity, and the right hip, the abduction was from 0 to 20 degree, and the adduction was from 0 to 10 degree, which was further restricted by pain. And on the left hip, the adduction was 5 degree, and the abduction was 30 degree, further restricted by pain.
So
And
the coronal plane almost the same.
Sir.
Range of movement almost same.
Sir,
While
the right side 20 degree abduction, left side 30 degree abduction കിട്ടിയായിരുന്നു.
only a margin.
Adduction is almost the same.
But in the flexion, it is closely restricted, like, on the one
Yes.
side.
Flexion on the right side it is 90 degree and the left side it is 60 degrees. Sir.
Yeah. Okay. Coming to rotation.
Coming to the rotational profile, rotational movements. In the right, internal rotation in extension was 45 degrees, and external rotation in extension was 10 degrees. And the internal rotation in flexion was 25 degrees, and external rotation in flexion was 10 degrees. So you can see in the video the external rotation was in flexion is 10 degrees and internal rotation is 25 degrees. And on the left hip, the internal rotation on extension was 10 degrees and external rotation in extension was 45 degrees. And internal rotation in flexion was 10 degrees and external rotation in flexion was 10 degrees. Coming to measurements, the apparent length was measured from the Siffy sternum to tip of the median malleolus on either side, and there was a 1 centimeter shortening on the right side. And true length was assessed from the ASIS to tip of the median malleoli, and there was 1 centimeter shortening on the right side. And it was confirmed to be a supratrochanteric shortening of 1 centimeter by Bryan's triangle. And circumference measurement was taken 15 centimeter proximal to medial joint line and was equal on both sides. Coming to special tests, the Trendelenburg test was negative. There was no telescopy. Telescopy test was negative. Coming to gait assessment, it was biphasic bipedal unassisted gait with normal stance and swing phase. And the other examinations, the SI joint was within normal limits. The ipsilateral knee was examined and was within normal limits. The spine examination was within normal limits. Perabdominal examination was done was within normal limits. Rectal examination was not done, and neurovascular examination was within normal limits. So summarizing, I am presenting a 35-year-old male patient who is obese with BMI of 39.8, and he's complaining of bilateral hip pain, right hip pain since 6 months and left hip pain since 2 weeks. He's having difficulty in climbing stairs and sitting cross-legged and squatting. On examination, there is gross restriction of abduction and adduction, mainly abduction, and a restriction of external rotation in right hip and internal rotation in left hip, and bilateral restriction of flexion. And there is a 1 centimeter supratrochanteric shortening on the right side.
So it's a rather straightforward, uncomplicated hip case. A good demonstration for the undergraduates. This is how the hip is examined. The steps that he searched and the history he has elicited all are important. Every point is important. This is the way one has to present the hip case. There are different steps in that. I think with these findings, what is your probable anatomical diagnosis and pathological diagnosis?
My anatomical diagnosis is an arthritis of the hip. It is a secondary my pathological diagnosis is secondary osteoarthritis of the hip, most probably due to avascular necrosis.
So there are a lot of points in favor. Is there any other differential diagnosis?
So considering the obesity, there can be a also a primary osteoarthritis of the hip, sir.
Sure.
Before going into diagnosis, I would suggest few improvements in your examination techniques. Can you go back to your internal rotation, external rotation examination? In the hip inflection, when you keep the limb with hip inflection, your one hand should be over the anterior superior iliac spine. When you do like this, and the left hand, which is on the knee, actually should be on the anterior superior iliac spine. Have you understood?
Sir, ആളുടെ കാല് എനിക്ക് താങ്ങാൻ പറ്റുന്നുണ്ടായിരുന്നില്ല. അപ്പൊ എന്താ
അല്ല
ചെയ്യേണ്ടത്?
മനസ്സിലായി. It will be difficult. അപ്പോൾ when the examiner is around, you have to tell that. You
Okay.
have to tell that. So examiner, you can even ask the examiner to help you. Actually, that will give extra marks if the examiner is a reasonable person. Whenever you have got any difficulty, for example, if the patient is not holding the tape because he is mentally retarded, and you can ask the examiner to hold the tape over the CT sternum. So in the examination hall, you have to communicate. You have to talk with the examiner always, and all the difficulties you are facing should be verbalized. So whenever you do a internal rotation, external rotation, your one hand should be over the anterior superior iliac spine. Okay, that is one thing. Second thing, can you go back to the abduction adduction? When you do the abduction, actually your right hand is over the ipsilateral and superior iliac spine. Ideally, it should be over the contralateral anterior superior iliac spine. Okay.
Okay, sir.
When you do the adduction, you have to abduct the other limb. So whenever you look for the coronal plane movement, you have to keep the other limb away so that you can freely move the limb which you are moving. So when you are looking for the adduction, your hand should be over the ipsilateral anterior superior iliac spine. Why? Because the first movement will be occurring there. When you are abducting, where will the first movement occur? It will be over the opposite side. When you are adducting, where will the first movement occur? That will be over the ipsilateral side. That is just common sense. So these are just simple things. Because you have done it properly, very good way, I'm suggesting some improvements. So that will give a professional look to your examination. So the thing in the examination hall is that you should be doing things as if you have done it multiple times, and you should be able to keep the goniometer in the proper place.
Okay, sir.
Whenever you are measuring the internal rotation, external rotation, you should be able to keep your goniometer properly. അത് ഇടയ്ക്കിടയ്ക്ക് ചെയ്തു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നമുക്ക് എവിടെ വെക്കണമെന്ന് പെട്ടെന്ന് ഓർമ്മ വരുള്ളൂ.
Okay, sir.
Where will you can you go back to the internal rotation slide again? Where will you keep the goniometer when you are measuring the internal rotation?
Sir, in flexion, we keep it on the center of the patella and fixed limb in parallel to the normal limb, sir.
In extended position, where will you keep?
We keep in the foot, sir. And
Vertically. Okay. Okay. These points should be kept in mind. So the examination is important, and whenever you are having a diagnosis, we should have few parts: an anatomical diagnosis, pathological diagnosis, etiological diagnosis, and any complications due to this illness. So these are the four components you will be trying to arrive at. So your anatomical diagnosis here is
Sir, arthritis, sir.
arthritis. Why you are telling that is arthritis?
There is painful restriction of all movements, sir. That
And
is 1 point in favor.
this
Then
and
anterior and posterior joint line tenderness is there.
so if your patient is having painful restriction of all ranges of movement, and if there is joint line tenderness, you can safely make a diagnosis of arthritis. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So any other anatomical diagnosis you can make here. Ideally, if you are making an anatomical diagnosis, there will be only one diagnosis, but you can have different pathological diagnosis. Okay, so
Okay.
you can stick on to your anatomical diagnosis of arthritis. You should not change that. Then your pathological diagnosis, you can have differential diagnosis. So, for example, if you say that it's arthritis of the hip, and my second diagnosis is synovitis, so that means your understanding is wrong. So arthritis means arthritis. It can be rheumatoid arthritis or secondary arthritis, anything, septic arthritis. So you can have differential diagnosis. Have you understood?
Okay, sir.
So what is your pathological diagnosis here?
So pathological diagnosis is secondary osteoarthritis due to avascular necrosis of the hip, the head, sir.
Okay. Why you are telling me it is due to avascular necrosis?
The patient is giving a strong history of chronic alcoholism and smoking. Sir, it is a etiological factor for avascular necrosis, sir.
Any physical examination finding you will be specifically looking for in this patient if you have avascular necrosis as a diagnosis.
Sir, there will be vascular necrosis. There will be a restriction in flexion, adduction, and internal rotation mainly. So in this case, in the left hip, there is the features of restriction of flexion, adduction, abduction, and internal rotation. And there is sectoral sign on the right hip. There is
You will be
differential.
looking for the sectoral sign. What do you mean by sectoral sign?
There will be a difference in the internal rotation profile in extension and flexion.
Have you
There
looked
will be,
for that
yes, sir. There is a 20 degree of decrease in the.
difference? Okay. So almost all hip patients, if there is arthritis, that will go for father deformity, FADER, flexion, adduction, external rotation deformity. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So that is not a diagnostic feature. That deformity you cannot differentially diagnose other things. So you will be specifically looking for sectoral sign in this patient. And one more point, can you look for? May not be positive in this patient, but suppose the patient is having more flexion, what will you look for?
Uh, Sir, can be axis
Can
deviation.
have axis deviation sometimes may be there because if the head is deformed, you can have axis deviation. The classic finding is in the SUFI, slipped capital femoral epiphysis, because the head is deformed. Similar finding can be present in AVN also. Okay, but the classic thing is the sectoral side. Okay,
Okay, sir.
then how will you proceed?
This is Arun Vallale. I think this is has joined.
Oh,
Ah,
I think we have gone sufficiently into the clinical examination. Differential diagnosis, you have to consider usually when it is a bilateral hip problem like this, especially in this age group, apart from secondary osteoarthritis, you have to think of rheumatoid arthritis and ankylosing spondylitis. These are
Okay, sir.
conditions where you can have bilateral involvement. But this patient, the other two possibilities are only very remote possibilities.
ankylosing spondylitis is a possibility at this age and the male.
Especially if there is spinal problem, but this patient has no spine problem.
Spinal problem.
Usually it starts in the sacroiliac joints and then it ascends up towards the spine, ascending type of ankylosing spondylitis. But some of these patients develop hip problem, restriction of hip movements, and ultimately the hip becomes ankylosed completely.
Okay, sir.
That is all I have to add at this stage.
Okay, so how will you proceed?
Sir, I would like to investigate to confirm my diagnosis. Coming to laboratory investigations, the patient HB was 14.3, WBC 7,000, and ESR was 5, and there was normal urine creatinine. Sir, ബാക്കി ഇൻവെസ്റ്റിഗേഷൻസ് അവൈലബിൾ അല്ല, ബട്ട് ഐ വുഡ് ഓൾസോ ലൈക്ക് ടു ഡു എ RF factor and hemoglobin assay to know whether it is not rheumatoid arthritis and sickle cell anemia, which are also risk factors for vascular necrosis, sir. Okay, sir.
Another DD may be slip leg, capital femoral epibasis. Of course, there is no history, but you must specifically ask for that. Of course, just for a DD.
Okay, sir.
Coming to X-ray. Coming to X-ray.
Coming to the X-ray, this was X-ray which was taken 6 months back. It's a plain X-ray APV of pelvis with both hip, showing radiological signs in the femoral head. There is sclerosis in the supralateral border of the acetabulum with mild acetabular lipping, sir.
Indicating. What does that indicate?
Sir,
Subchondral sclerosis and osteophyte formation, and the joint space is not very congruous. Which side is more affected clinically?
The right side ആയിരുന്നു 6 months back ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു പെയിൻ, സർ.
എന്താ തോന്നുന്നു കിഷോറിന് എന്തെങ്കിലും പറയാൻ പറ്റുമോ?
There is femoroacetabular impingement in the finding ഉള്ള പോലെ there is a prominence ഹെഡും നെക്കും തമ്മിലുള്ള ഭാഗത്ത് കുറച്ച്. Can you show that with using your arrow? Okay. അവിടുന്ന് താഴത്തേക്ക് വരുമ്പോൾ it is more rounded. So there are different types of femoroacetabular impingements that can be mentioned upon, but the symptoms may not be due to that. A patient can have more obvious finding, which is AVN, because there is sclerosis over the superior aspect of the head, and there is more sclerosis of the acetabulum also. Acetabulum is more whiter. And we can also mention about the sacroiliac joints. So that is normal.
Okay, sir.
So how will you proceed further? So from here, your diagnosis is?
Sir, I stick on with my diagnosis from history and X-rays.
Okay. So how will you proceed further?
The recent X-ray, sir, this is a recent X-ray. It was taken on January 2021. In this, there is the right hip is showing the features of subchondral sclerosis, and there is crescent sign seen. And there is a mild femoral head collapse. Mild flattening is there, and there is increased sclerosis.
Show the crescent sign, draw it.
You can just show the arrow. Instead of drawing, you can move your arrow around that.
Or is the entire big segment collapse?
അതിന് താഴേക്ക് ഒരു റാ പോലെ കാണുന്നില്ല.
It's a big segment.
This lateral view is clear.
It's only small. That is small. Yeah, that's right. Lateral view definitely is not that big. But in the AP, it seems that, yeah, lateral is more classical. Okay, കിഷോറിന് ആ സെഗ്മെന്റ് അങ്ങനെ വലിയൊരു അവസ്കര സെഗ്മെന്റ് ആയിട്ട് തോന്നുന്നുണ്ടോ?
യെസ് സർ. സാറ് പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ താഴത്തേക്ക് ഒരു റാ പോലെ ഇങ്ങനെ കാണുന്നുണ്ട് മീഡിയൽ സൈഡിലേക്ക്. അവിടുന്ന് താഴെ തന്നെ അങ്ങനെ പോകുന്ന പോലെ എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു. Sir, anything to add about the X-ray finding?
X-ray is suggestive of arthritis, osteoarthritis is there, narrowing the joint space, sclerosis, and lipping of the acetabulum laterally. And there is a mild collapse of the head of the femur on the upper part with sclerotic segment. So it is suggestive of AVN with secondary osteoarthritis.
So the X-ray confirms our diagnosis. Then what shall we do?
Sir, we can opt for a MRI, which is a gold standard for gold standard investigation for avascular necrosis. And in the early stage,
It's a better modalities of is it the what is the other modality that helps to confirm the early diagnosis?
sir, we can also go for a bone scan. There will be decreased uptake in the area of necrosis, sir.
It considers a better modality.
Sir, MRI is the gold standard for vascular necrosis, sir. Sir, MRI was taken.
So from what are the stages of avascular necrosis? You can tell.
There are 4 stages for avascular necrosis. The stage of necrosis, fragmentation, reossification, and healing.
Which one is that is radiological, that is in the X-ray?
X-ray and MRI, there is a classification called as modified Fickett and Arlett's radiological staging, sir. They are divided into 4 phases. That is preclinical and pre-radiological, which is only suggestive of avascular necrosis. Then pre-radiological, that is minimal osteoporosis and blurring of bony trabeculæ. Then the 2A, 2B phase, that is reparative phase with diffuse osteoporosis, sclerosis, and cyst, and 2B phase with linear subcortical lucencies, that is a crescent sign, and subarticular cortex may remain attached to the cartilage and is separated from the underlying femur by soft tissue, the exit sign. Then coming to the third stage is the early collapse of femoral head and sequential collapse, that is sequential collapse and loss of sphericity of head. Comparing with the X-ray, it appears to be in the stage 3. There is early collapse of femoral head. Then
It's on the right side. Right side.
On the right
side
side.
What about the left side? Radiologically in the X-ray and clinically?
Sir, clinically, there is features of avascular necrosis, osteoarthritis secondary to vascular necrosis.
I mean in the right side, left side.
Left side, sir.
Left side or radiologically, what is the stage?
Radiologically, sir, there is only minimal sclerosis, so it is in stage 2, sir.
The right side is on stage 3 and the left side is on stage 1. Stage 2.
What I'm showing now is Steenberg's modification of Fickett and Arlett staging system, sir. There are 6 stages. In that the right side comes under stage 3 and left side in stage 2, sir.
Okay, so it is 3 on the right side and 2 on left area. So, what is the advantage of MRI in making the treatments?
Sir, we can clearly identify the zone of necrosis, so that we can plan our surgery or our management protocol.
So now you can show the MRI and you can show the findings which you have described.
On the right side is showing flattening, as well as there is sclerosis, and there is double line, the single line that is separating the avascular area from the normal area.
Left side.
Left side also there is an area of avascular necrosis, sir. There is the single line separating hypodense lesion that is separating the normal bone from the necrotic bone, sir.
So that means the importance of staging is deciding the the mode of treatment. So, what is the mode of treatment depending upon the staging and in which stage you do, what are the modalities of treatments that is accepted for vascular?
Methods of treatment, sir, there are non-operative treatment as well as operative treatment. Non-operative can be divided into non-pharmacological and pharmacological. Non-pharmacological, we can opt for a protective weight bearing. That is, then in pharmacological, we can opt for bisphosphonates. That alendronate has been found to decrease the vascular necrosis, and we can go for prostaglandin analogs like Ilaprost, which is a vasodilator, which helps in increasing the blood flow to the head. Then statins can be used. Statins reduces the fat, that is, it is anti-adipogenic, and fat is an important cause. The fat embolia is an important cause in avascular necrosis, mainly as a risk factor of steroid. Then there are also other modalities like hyperbaric oxygen and electric stimulations. Then the surgical.
I am not aware of this developments. These are all standard things. I don't know. Even by bisphosphonates, I am not aware.
So bisphosphonates are now suggested. All these things are now suggested. All these treatments are based on the proposed theories behind the avascular necrosis. There are different theories why the avascular necrosis is happening. Avinash, can you tell? What are the different?
The avascular necrosis is based on the alteration of the blood flow. There are 5 divisions, of which the extraosseous arterial is the most common cause for avascular necrosis.
Yes.
That is commonly due to trauma or vasculitis or spasm of the arteries. Then the second cause is intraosseous arterial, that forms the microembolia or fat embolism. This is a major risk factor that occurs in sickle cell disease.
In this patient, what could be the risk factor? Why the patient is having avascular necrosis, the pathology? How is the alcohol producing avascular necrosis?
It will be extraosseous arterial, sir. There will be vasculitis and spasm.
Is there anything to do with the fat deposition and the alcohol?
Sir, fat deposition also occurs in alcohol, sir.
So you can direct your treatment based on the lipid reducing drugs. So which one is proposed?
Statins, sir.
Okay. So you should not tell all these drugs for each and every patient. You should be tailoring your answer based on your suspected pathology. Suppose this patient has got a steroid intake, your target will be something. Again, the cholesterol. Alcohol, your target will be something. And bisphosphonates can be added to all patients.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So
how will the bisphosphonates act?
Bisphosphonates actually, the modifies the Rank-Rankle pathway. It will be inhibiting the osteoclast resorption. So the collapse can be delayed. Delayed.
So these are all accepted methods of just worth to try. That is what is the current concept.
Because ultimately what we are going to do is to remove the head. And before removing the head, we can try anything which is less harmful.
Yeah.
Especially the patient is not having any collapse.
That's right.
So the most important thing is to ask the patient to reduce weight, and you have to ask the patient to use a cane on the opposite side, because the patient is having a bilateral problem. It is difficult. Okay, only weight reduction can be proposed as a non-pharmacological treatment.
Is there any role for traction? Traction at night? which is something I used to do, and there had some relief, it seems. But is the what the literature say anything about traction?
Traction as such is not mentioned in any of the books, but it may be helping to reduce pain because the movement will be restricted. So that may be reducing the pain and it may be reducing the inflammation. I don't know, but traction is not mentioned in the books.
I used to do that, and they at least get a temporary relief. So I routinely ask them
Yes, sir.
to have traction at night, and by the morning they'll be the spasm will be reduced, and the morning stiffness usually accompanies will be reduced, and
Yes,
they
sir.
do it regularly. Yeah, they are happy to do that, at least few cases. Wilson sir, and regarding the non-operative treatment in general, Wilson sir, what is your idea about the non-operative treatment which you have described?
നിസ്സാരൊക്കെ മ്യൂട്ടഡ് ആണ്.
ആണല്ലേ? It's okay.
Pharmacological treatment
Ah.
is usually of benefit before the collapse occurs. Pre-collapse stage, they may work. After the collapse, then may not be much of a benefit. Traction, I also have not given routinely. But if there is an acute synovitis phase, in between, maybe traction will be of some help.
Okay. So now coming to the surgical treatment. Abhilash, what are the surgical treatments?
So surgical treatments
I think Tony can start answering because it's a general questions. So Tony, you are available. Tony. Tony, is it? Yeah, I think then what are the, you have already described about the non-surgical treatment, pharmacological and other treatment. What are the different type of surgical treatment and in which condition it is used and what are the, you can tell about that. Surgical treatment.
So in stage 1 and 2, we can consider core decompression with or without bone grafting.
In other two stages, Tony, the mute team, unmute team and the problem down. And you tell that, yeah. What is the in other cases, third and fourth?
Sir, in third and fourth, the recommended treatment are vascularized fibrillar graft and
Vascularized fibrillar graft in which stage?
sir, in the third and fourth stage.
Do you think in? I think it is not. Kishore, I think it is in third and fourth hip replacement and the Dharna. What is Kishore and Brian? Is there any role for vascularized fibrillar graft in third and? No, is there any role? I don't think so. Kishore.
Sir, according to the new classification, the hip arthroplasty is recommended in 4, 5 and stages in stage 4, 5 and 6.
You are following the 6 stages, right? 6 stages are.
Yes, sir. According to that, the 2 and 3, we can consider vascular fibrillar graft, sir.
So in the third stage, whether it is a new classification or old classification, there will be collapse. So once there is a collapse, is there any role for fibrillar grafting? I'm not sure. Kishore,
Sir, in that stage also, vascular fibrillar graft is suggesting, sir.
I'm not sure. Abhilashan,
sir vascular fibrillar graft ഉപയോഗിക്കാം sir stage 3 ൽ
only in the classification the 6 side ആകുമ്പോൾ അല്ലേ അപ്പോൾ vascular fibrillar is indicated
stage 1 ഉം stage 2 ലും core decompression with or without fibrillar grafting ചെയ്യാം sir. പിന്നെ ഒരു ടാൻഡാലം റോഡ് ഇൻസെർഷൻ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ ഒരു അതിനെ കുറിച്ച് എനിക്ക് അറിയില്ല, ജസ്റ്റ് വായിച്ചോളൂ സർ. പിന്നെ സ്റ്റേജ് 2 and 3 ആകുമ്പോഴേക്കും ഓസ്റ്റിയോട്ടമീസും വാസ്കുലർ ഫിബ്രില്ലാർ ഗ്രാഫ്റ്റും ആണ് ഉപയോഗിക്കാം സർ. ഓസ്റ്റിയോട്ടമീസ് ടു ഷിഫ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യാം, അതായത് നെക്രോട്ടിക് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഏരിയ നോർമൽ ബോണിലേക്ക് നമ്മുടെ മെക്കാനിസം അത് മെക്കാനിക്കൽ ആക്സസ് ഷിഫ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യാനുള്ള സർജറീസ് സാർ വൈറസ് ഡീറൊട്ടേഷൻ ഓസ്റ്റിയോട്ടമി, വാൽഗസ് ഫ്ലെക്ഷൻ ഓസ്റ്റിയോട്ടമി, സുഗിയോക്ക ഓസ്റ്റിയോട്ടമി, അങ്ങനത്തെ കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ. പിന്നെ സാറ് ഹെഡ് നന്നായിട്ട് ഡീഫോംഡ് ആയി അസ്റ്റാബിലെ ഇൻവോൾവ്മെന്റ് സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ വി ഹാവ് ടു ഓപ്റ്റ് ഫോർ ഹിപ്പാർത്തോപ്ലാസ്റ്റി സാർ. അങ്ങനെയാണ് മനസ്സിലായത് സാർ.
Okay. So, by fibular grafting, you aim at elevating the collapse segments. Plan because it's already collapsed, so the head become incongruous. Will the incongruity and be corrected by fibular grafting? And I was
സാർ അങ്ങനെ അറിയില്ല സാർ.
സാർ എനിക്ക് പേഷ്യന്റ് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു, ഞാൻ പേഷ്യന്റ് നോക്കായിരുന്നു.
It's okay. So the discussion was about the they say in stage 3 vascular fibular graft is the standard treatment. I was just wondering, will the collapse segments, a vascular segment gets elevated by the fibular grafting?
In general, once the collapse has set in, we have to find out how much is the what is the size of the collapse. So that can be measured by using something called Kerbol's angle. So if it is a larger collapse involving, so in this patient it is a big collapse. So if it is a larger collapse, your conservative measures may not be that effective. So your vascularized fibular graft may not be that functional. But 3 is a complicated situation. Whether you want to replace or retain, that decision has to be taken. So it is always better to conserve the hip first. Try for a conservative treatment. So you should not do a simple cord decompression. You have to give a support. It can be either a vascularized fibular graft or a non-vascularized fibular graft, or a tendulum, a trabecular metal can be used. So the idea is to
it's an artificial thing. Artificial.
Yes.
Are we filling the iliac graft inside? Cage where we can.
That is actually a metal, an artificial thing. So instead of taking a biopsy or a bone from your own body, you use an artificial thing. So the mobility is reduced. So that is called tendulum. It is a special type of metal which can gradually get incorporated into the body. It is called trabecular metal. That can be used. So whether that will be functional or not, that is debatable, but you can always try for that. So if you say that these things in your examination hall, we can say that there is some chance of failure. Actually, the success rate is only around 60 to 70%. You can quote some studies.
And is there any idea about the tendulum availability of tendulum here?
I don't know whether it is available here or not. People outside are using. What we generally do is to put a fibular graft, non-vascularized.
Another doubt I had is as we are telling about the osteotomies, is osteotomy indicated? Because osteotomy can make the later hip replacement difficult. Another issue.
The idea behind all this conservative treatment is to change the weight bearing area.
That's right.
So the second idea is to preserve the head as long as possible.
That's right.
So when the period of replacement surgery can be extended further, the technology will be improving and the difficulties can be taken care of. So anyway, we are trying to preserve the normal hip. So that is the idea behind all these conservative treatments. They are having some limited roles. In general, people will be using a cord decompression plus fibular graft. And third treatment is a hip replacement. That is the standard dictum. And what type of hip replacement you will be using is also worth discussing, because the bone is abnormal. Should we use a cemented or uncemented? That is debatable. Here in avascular necrosis, the proximal part of the femur is abnormal because blood supply is reduced.
In this case, considering the age of the patient, I will consider a non-cemented hemianoplasty total.
So such questions, if the examiner is asking, that means you have already passed the examination, and you have to read some papers, reviews about the comparison between cemented and uncemented hip replacement in people with avascular necrosis. What is the result? So in general, the results are better in cemented. But you can argue for and against uncemented in this patient, because the patient is younger. You can argue in favor of uncemented.
Good discussion. ഇത് വേറെ എന്തെങ്കിലും ചേർക്കാനുണ്ടോ? വിജിൻ സാറിന് എന്തെങ്കിലും ആഡ് ചെയ്യാനുണ്ടോ? അല്ലെ, ദിസ് വാസ് ഡൺ അല്ലെ, യെസ്റ്റർഡേ ഇറ്റ് വാസ് ഡൺ അല്ലെ, ദ കേസ് വാസ് ഡൺ
Sir, 3 ദിവസമായി.
3 ദിവസമായി. ദിസ് ഇസ് ദ പോസ്റ്റ് ഓഫ് എക്സ്റേ.
Sir, post op X-ray ആണ്. Sir, core decompression, non-vascularized fibula graft ആണ് വെച്ചത്.
So who had assisted for the surgery?
Sir, Matthew, sir.
Matthew, are you available? Matthew,
Sir, ഞാനായിരുന്നു അസിസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്തത്.
you can tell the what was done.
Sir, the procedure done was core decompression along with tubular grafting, sir. Patient was approached just proximal to the GT. Then the GT
He was placed in a fracture table. He was placed in a fracture table. Yeah. Kishore is showing something. Okay.
Are you able to hear now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So here you can see this is a simple note which you can easily remember when somebody asks you about avascular necrosis. You should know the definition. That is osteonecrosis of the femoral head due to interruption of blood supply causing ischemia and cell death. So as Abhilash rightly put in, the extraosseous vascular cause is the most commonly seen cause. That is due to trauma, vasculitis or spasm. And it can be due to fat embolism, Casson's disease, sickle cell disease, fat cells, and steroid more than 2 grams for 2 months can produce avascular necrosis of the hip. And steroid is the most common cause. So you should know how the steroid is producing avascular necrosis. It increases the fat cell number and size. It produces fat embolism. It causes endothelial damage, and direct primary osteocyte death is also a cause. The risk factors are alcohol, steroid, smoking, and idiopathic. I remember that as Shashi. So SASI, Shashi. Steroid, alcohol, smoking, and idiopathic. These are the causes. And Fickett and Arlett classification is the most commonly mentioned classification. And if the patient is old, low functional demand is there, you can opt in for a hemiarthroplasty. Otherwise, the debate is between uncemented versus cemented if there is a collapse. So some studies say that the cemented is better. Some studies say that uncemented is better. So you can stick on to one of your preferred treatment and argue in favor of that using one of the papers. Okay. If the patient is in stage 3, verbal angle that is measured, and if it is less than 200 degrees, you can opt for trapdoor procedures or redirectional osteotomies like angular or rotation osteotomies. That is to change the orientation of the hip. If the patient is less than 3 stage, you can, as Abhilash has rightly put in, you can go for mechanical offloading, medical treatment, and surgical treatments like hip preservation by core decompression with or without fibular graft. you should know something about the vascularized fibular graft, a paper by Mond. You can read about that. And that's all. So these are the few things you can remember for your theory examination.
I was asking Matthew to narrate what is the surgical steps that you've done. Yeah, you can continue.
Sir, under Shiam guidance, a guide wire passed through
The patient is placed on a. The patient is placed on a.
supine, sir. Supine with on the fracture table.
Fracture table. Okay.
Then a guide wire passed through the GT towards the head, and the size was measured 10 centimeter towards the head. Then drilling was done with number 8 drill, sir. And core decompression was done over the head side. And the number, and the measurement of the
Core decompression was done using what?
drill, sir.
Drill
Number
just, which number drill?
Number 8.
Is it the drill that is used for the
One which is used for ACL reconstruction.
yeah. I see.
That drill was
So
used for
one of the cases which I had done is I was using DHS എന്നുള്ള സ്ക്രൂസ് ഡ്രില്ലിന് ഉപയോഗിച്ചിരുന്നത്. ഇതിനാ ഉപയോഗിച്ചത് അല്ലേ? ഓക്കെ, ACL reconstruction. ഓക്കെ.
And at 10 centimeter.
അങ്ങനെ എവിടെയും പറയുന്നുണ്ടോ? വിച്ച് സൈസ് പറയുന്നുണ്ടോ എവിടെയെങ്കിലും? അല്ല, വിശ്വനാഥ് അറിയോ? അതോ ആരെങ്കിലും? What must be the diameter of the
6.5 ആണെന്ന് തോന്നുന്നു. 6.5 ആണെന്ന് തോന്നുന്നു സൈസ്.
the one case which I have used is ഞാൻ 4-5 ചെയ്തല്ലോ മാക്സിമം. അപ്പൊ അതില് ഇതാണ് ഉപയോഗിച്ചത്. DHSന്റെ ഔട്ടർ ഉണ്ടാവില്ല, ഇന്നർ മാത്രം വെച്ചിട്ട്. That is good enough എന്ന് തോന്നിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഓക്കെ, സോ ഇൻ ദിസ് കേസ് യു യൂസ് ദ ACL എന്നുള്ള ഇതാണ് ഉപയോഗിച്ചത്. ഇറ്റ്സ് ഓക്കെ. ദെൻ
The size of 10 centimeter was measured, and a graft of fibula taken by the lateral approach from the middle 1/3.
The patient still on the fracture table. അല്ലേ?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was there tourniquet used?
No, sir.
Without tourniquet. Okay. Okay, you continue.
And the delivered graft nibbled up to the size of number 8, sir. Number 8 size in the
No, it's okay. So projecting portion was nibbled off. Projecting portions of the fibula was nibbled off. Okay. Then.
and it,
You see. Then.
then it was graft over the drilled area. That's all. That's the procedure.
It is impacted using what?
Using an impactor and hammer, sir.
Hammer. Okay. And it was smoothly went in. Right?
Yes.
And it is remains stuck in that canal without any movement.
Without any.
എന്തെങ്കിലും ആഡ് ചെയ്യാനുണ്ടോ? Other hip was not addressed. Was there decompression done on the other side?
No, sir. No, sir.
There was.
Plan is there, sir. For decompression plan is there. After.
And then why it was not done?
Right, 2 steps. Need mobilization.
For allowing the patient to have weight bearing. That may be the reason. Okay. Dr. Kishore, your case or your Dr. Kishore was there? No. Okay, it's okay. I think if there is nothing to add, you can stop. വേറെ എന്തെങ്കിലും പറയാനുണ്ടോ? ബിസിനസ് എന്തെങ്കിലും പറയാനുണ്ടോ?
അജിത്താണ്.
പറഞ്ഞോളൂ
സാർ. അതിൽ നമ്മൾ ഈ വാസ്കുലർ ഫിബുലാർ ഗ്രാഫ്റ്റ് ഉണ്ടല്ലോ സാർ, അത് നമ്മൾ അറ്റാച്ച് ചെയ്യുന്നത് അസെൻഡിങ് ബ്രാഞ്ച് ഓഫ് ഫെമറൽ
ലാറ്ററൽ സർക്കംഫ്ലെക്സ് ഫെമറൽ ആർട്ടറിയുടെ ബ്രാഞ്ചിലോട്ടാണ് അറ്റാച്ച് ചെയ്യുന്നത് ഈ ഫിബുലാർ ഗ്രാഫ്റ്റ്, സാധാരണ വാസ്കുലർ ഫിബുലാർ ഗ്രാഫ്റ്റ്. അതൊരു പോയിന്റ് ഉണ്ട് സാർ. പിന്നെ നമ്മൾ ഈ വാസ്കുലർ ഫിബുലാർ ഗ്രാഫ്റ്റിന് നമുക്ക് ഈക്വലന്റ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള സാധനമാണ് ഈ മസിൽ പെഡിക്കിൾ ഗ്രാഫ്റ്റ്. നമ്മൾ സ്കഫേർഡിൽ നമ്മൾ പ്രൊണേറ്റർ കോട്ടറൈറ്റസിന്റെ പീസ് എടുക്കുമല്ലോ, അതേപോലെ തന്നെ ഈ AVN നമുക്ക് ഗ്ലൂട്ടിയസ് മീഡിയസ് ചെയ്യുന്ന, പിന്നെ സ്വയാസ് മേജറിൽ നിന്നൊക്കെ ചെറിയ പീസ് വാസ്കുലറൈസ് ഗ്രാഫ്റ്റ് അറ്റാച്ച് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരു പരിപാടിയുണ്ട് സാർ. പിന്നെ ഗ്രാഫ്റ്റിംഗ് 2 മെത്തേഡാണുള്ളത്. ലൈറ്റ് ബൾബും ഉണ്ട്, ട്രാപ്പ് ഡോറും ഉണ്ട്. ട്രാപ്പ് ഡോറിൽ നമ്മൾ മറ്റേ സേഫ് ഡിസ്ലൊക്കേഷൻ ചെയ്തിട്ടാണ് ഗ്രാഫ്റ്റിംഗ് ചെയ്യുക. ലൈറ്റ് ബൾബിൽ ഡിസ്ലൊക്കേഷൻ ചെയ്യാതെ തന്നെ നമുക്ക് ഗ്രാഫ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും സാർ. പിന്നെ നമ്മൾ സാർ പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ ഡ്രില്ല് എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു 8 mm ഡ്രില്ല് തന്നെയാണ് യൂസ് ചെയ്യുക. അത് സിംഗിൾ ആണെങ്കിൽ, മൾട്ടിപ്പിൾ ഹോൾ ആണെങ്കിൽ 3.2 mm ആണ് സാധാരണ യൂസ് ചെയ്യുക. അങ്ങനെയാണ് തിയറിയിൽ കണ്ടേക്കാൻ പറ്റും.
Which vessel is used is generally asked. ഏത് വെസലാണ് യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത് ചിലപ്പോൾ ചോദിക്കാം.
Okay, sir.
In general, you should be in a physical examination, your examination technique and how you reach the diagnosis and how you are approaching the patient. These are important. You need not go into the finer details of each and everything. That may not be asked. And if they are asking, that means you have already passed. So you concentrate more on your clinical technique, how you are reaching the diagnosis, and pathophysiology. All these things should be they are more important. And finer details of the surgical techniques, if you know, that is well and good. And if you know only that and your clinical method is wrong, that means you won't pass the examination.
Okay, sir.
Okay, I think we had a good discussion. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.